You know who I think doesn't get enough credit? Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, I know we give him his flowers, but it seems like, you know what's funny? Like, yesterday we did a 2-hour show breaking down a win. We didn't even mention St. Brown.
Man.
And he had 100 yards.
Yes. Ho-hum.
It's just like, oh yeah, St. Brown has 100 yards, aka it's Tuesday. Like,
that in itself shows you how far the Lions have come, because now we have, at least from 2-3 years ago, because I understand we had Calvin and all that, but 2-3 years ago, it was Trinity Benson, Tyrell Williams, etc. And it's like, now we have Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Don't forget about Perryman.
Yep, Brashad Perryman. How could we forget the stud of Brashad Perryman? Now we have Amon-Ra first down.
Bucks legend.
Who has 9 catches, 102 yards, and we're talking about rookies. We're talking about rookies. That's how you know this Lions team has taken another step. The fact that not even national media is like, oh my God, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 100 yards. No, even the media is talking about Brian Branch.
Yeah, they
Sam
are.
Laporta. They know that Amon-Ra St. Brown is Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he's just arrived officially. I know it was kind of official already last year, but now you can just pin it down. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a star in the NFL.
Now, I'll say this, too, in Detroit Lions PR, working overtime. They're putting out, and this is crazy, too, and I think I said this yesterday, but it feels like as a Lions fan, you're always used to other teams setting records, players on opposing teams setting records. What I'm not used to is a lot of Lions players and rookies setting records for the franchise. Under Brad Holmes, it seems like more and more players that he drafts keep setting these records. And Amon-Ra St. Brown became the 7th Lion and first since Marvin Jones Jr. In 2016 to log 100-plus receiving yards, in 2 of the first 3 games of the season. His 8 career games with 100 receiving yards are tied with third most through a Lions player first 3 career seasons. I don't know why I just fumbled that.
It's all right.
But regardless, that's impressive. 8 career games, like I said, with 100-plus receiving yards are tied. Third most to a Lions player first 3 career seasons. Now, I'll tell you what. This is what I believe about Amon-Ra St. Brown, dude. And I said this before the season, and I'm still going to stick to this. I know we kind of had a back and forth about it, like the 1,300 versus 1,400 thing.
Yeah.
And I think you even talked me down a little bit because I said 14, and I really do believe that because he had almost 1,200 last year, missing 2 games. So you do the math. 150 yards shy, like of a 1,300. He could have did that in 2 games. So 13 was almost accomplished last year if he was healthy every game. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is putting himself in a position to earn an All-Pro honor this year. I do believe that. If he can get 1,300 yards, maybe even close to double-digit touchdowns, this to me is the year for Amon-Ra because, the Pro Bowl is nice. You get recognized, but All-Pro is what is really big time for guys. And you even go to last year's, the people who made All-Pro last year for wide receivers, and you look at the list, and it's really, you could bring up Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams. Like, those guys are a different tier of wide receivers, the Tyreek Hill. And this league is deep with wideouts, man. Like, A.J. Brown, who's even having a quiet year, had a big game last night, but last year had 1,400 yards. Like, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think he could be the guy this year to break out for 1,400 yards. Will he have more yards than Justin Jefferson or Devontae? Probably not. But Sam Flannel, I think it could be an All-Pro year. Maybe an second team All-Pro for Amon-Ra St. Brown this year.
Well, he certainly has a chance. He is having one of the most quiet, excellent starts to a season that I can remember a Lions player ever having, because you could argue, I don't know if you'd win this argument, but you could make the argument that Amon-Ra St. Brown has been the MVP of this entire team, and we do an entire 2-hour show the Monday after a Lions win, a game in which he had over 100 yards receiving, and not even mention him once, because all he does is just do his job. He's just that guy that just keeps chopping that wood. 6 catches for 71 yards, 6 catches for 102,
He's always
9
open.
for 102. It's unbelievable, and nobody even bats an eye because that's just Amon-Ra St. Brown being Amon-Ra St. Brown. But I am going to give him some of his flowers today because he deserves them. Amon-Ra St. Brown is currently 9th in the NFL in receiving yards with 275.
Top 10 wideout.
And that's what we were talking about before the season. Is Amon-Ra St. Brown a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL? I think we all agreed that he is. We all had him at the bottom of the top 10, and that's what his numbers are playing out to as of right now. And some of the names that he's currently ahead of, he's ahead of CeeDee Lamb. Not by much, but we're talking about somebody that he is compared to a lot. He's ahead of Deebo Samuel. He's ahead of Amari Cooper. He's ahead of A.J. Brown. He's ahead of DK Metcalf. And he is ahead of Jamar Chase. That could change as the season goes on, but I could also see him passing up guys ahead of him, like Chris Olave, Puka Nacua. Those are guys who are kind of new to the top 10. I'm just saying. And do you know what Amon-Ra St. Brown is on pace for right now with these numbers? If you kind of stretch this out over a 17-game season, 119 receptions, 1,558 yards, and 6 touchdowns.
He's on track for 1,500.
He's on track for 1,558. And
14 don't look too crazy.
You know, that to me looks like an all-pro season. And I know he's got to keep it up. I know he's had a tendency. I mean, not really a tendency, but last year he missed one full game and most of another game. This all a lot depends on if he stays healthy or not. But Amon-Ra St. Brown is a top 10 receiver in the NFL.
Yes,
and he's playing like it. And he's had over 100 yards in each of the last 2 games. And nobody even talks about it.
No.
That's how good that he's been, and that's how expected that he's been. We've almost become numb to his greatness.
Exactly.
It's weird. It's weird to even think about.
And I think 1,400's doable for him. And I'll tell you why. And he talked about it before the season, adding to it, talked about how he matured his game. What did he add? His thing was, I want to be a deep threat. Average yards per reception, 10.1, 11, 10.1 his rookie year, 11 last year, 13.1 this year. Increasing those yards per reception. So again, bigger chunks of yards for Amon-Ra. He had 11 yards per reception last year. I know it's 3 games, it's a small sample size, but if he keeps that up, you're talking about 1,400 yards. And CD Lamb made the All-Pro second team last year. Was an All-Pro, had 1,300 yards, 1,359, 9 TDs. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 6 TDs last year. Don't tell me he can't do that. He's doing that. And CeeDee Lamb kind of had a similar situation in Dallas last year where it was kind of like the CeeDee Lamb show. He was getting a ton of targets. St. Brown's going to get those targets, but the difference is St. Brown's going to catch them. Go look up his drop rate. When he catches a football, that's more shocking to me when he does.
He dropped one this week, and we were all like,
yeah, it was shocking.
And you can't even be mad at him. Normally when a wide receiver drops a pass, it's like, oh, what the? Do your job. You have one job. Catch the ball. Don't look upfield. But no, with Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're like, all right. It's going to happen. He's dropped one, but he caught about 100 before that. So when Amon-Ra St. Brown drops the ball, do not be upset, because he's probably going to be the most upset person inside that stadium.
Oh, no doubt. Then you got the guy he's playing injured. He's playing through injury, still putting up 100 yards. Nobody can guard him one-on-one. I mean, you're elite, and you're that receiver when game to game, opposing defenses know Amon-Ra is going to get 6 for 100 on you. And they do everything in their power to double this man, put him in a box, put him in bracket cover, whatever. And he still ends the game with 7 for 100. Like, it's just like, okay. You almost can book him per game. And Sam Flannel, it's time for Amon-Ra. He's been a top 10 receiver to me, but this is the year where everybody nationally acknowledges it and says, okay, he's that guy. 1,300 yards, maybe even double-digit touchdowns. He's the number 1 wide receiver on an offense that was top 5 last year. And you look at throughout history, aren't they breaking records right now with the consecutive home games scoring 20-plus points?
Yeah, they need one more. They're at 12, and then I believe, do we have the grab it? I'll grab it now. But they're at 12 right now. 13 gets it for the most 20-point games in Lions history straight.
And they're doing that with him as their number 1 wide receiver.
Yep.
I mean, what else do I have to say?
Yep, and in the one game that the Lions lost this season, they put up 31, and Amon-Ra St. Brown put up over 100 yards. So
absolutely,
and that's the thing. It's just been very workmanlike, and I hate to use that term because I think that kind of is why some people overlook him, because it is just very workmanlike. It's not super flashy, but like you said before, he's averaging 13.1 yards per carry this year. Per catch. That is a very, very good number. That is a number that I think he could sustain, because another thing about Amon-Ra St. Brown, he gets very, very open with room and space to get some yak yards, and he's getting them this year. And Jared Goff really has that synergy with him to where he puts it right on the money, hits him in stride, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown can just go. And we all know about him, and we know about Brian Branch. Their 40 times didn't necessarily look pretty, but when you put them on a football field, they are blazing, as Justin Slanik once said one day. They are absolutely blazing. They've got that football speed, as we all say.
Right.
And it's not hyperbole. It's not kind of like a cliche. It is what Amon-Ra St. Brown and Brian Branch have. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, just another great season. All-Pro incoming this year.